701. That's the number of murders recorded in Chicago, Illinois this year alone. With only 29 days left in this year, that number is expected to rise. RT correspondent Ashley Banks shows us why the death toll in the nation's third largest city is so high.
Since 2001, more people have been killed in Chicago than the number of Americans who were killed in the wars in both Afghanistan and Iraq. In the last 15 years, more than 8,000 people were murdered in the streets of Chicago. And that's compared to roughly 2,300 Americans killed in Afghanistan and 4,500 in Iraq. According to the Chicago Police Department, Chicago's murder rate is up by 58% from last year. CPD Superintendent Eddie Johnson said the levels of violence we have seen this year in some of our communities is absolutely unacceptable. CPD will use every tool available to hold violent offenders accountable and will continue to work strategically to address crime and uphold its commitment to rebuild public trust. So what's sparking the violence? Well, Johnson says it's a combination of increased gang activity and weak gun laws. Also to blame is poverty, police brutality, and a lack of medical care. Hospitals in Chicago are so spread out that victims of gun violence can't be treated in enough time. Now, according to the Chicago Tribune, most of the fatal shootings take place on the south side of Chicago, miles away from hospitals that come equipped with trauma centers. Unfortunately, trauma centers are costly, and because the city has equipped only one hospital on the south side with one of these centers for people 15 years or younger, it has cost many people their lives. The city has vowed to expand the trauma center for adults, but that isn't going to go into effect until 2018. Chicago's violence also stems from a lack of economic opportunity. About 47% of Chicago's black men ages 20 to 24 are either unemployed or not in school. Now that's compared with 20% of Hispanic men and 10% of white men in the same age group. Now the violence toll reported by the CPD includes only killings that police have determined to be criminal acts. Not included in the data are the fatal police-involved shooting incidents that have taken place this year, which shows a lack of transparency from the CPD. So what's the proposed solution to Chicago's outrageous murder rate? Well, Mayor Rahm Emanuel announced plans to expand the Chicago's 12,000-member police force to 13,000 by the year 2018. The CPD has also stepped up traffic enforcement, parole compliance checks, and social service intervention for high-risk individuals. However, trust in the city's police force has diminished due to a number of high-profile shooting deaths, including the case of Laquan McDonald, a black teenager shot 16 times by an officer back in 2014. Many critics say policing efforts alone won't solve the problem. One community activist saying, quote, "We can't lock up our way out of this problem." In Washington, Ashley Banks, RT.
People's getting shot, you know, innocent people, you know, the children, the mothers, the fathers, the daughters, the sons, the uncles, the aunties, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the granddaughters, the grandsons. And I put up here, don't shoot me, please let me live. Because in my neighborhood, in my community, they're always shooting. And then when they shooting, there's always an innocent bystander that get killed or get hurt by a bullet. And I just don't want no one in my family, and I don't want to get killed. I don't want my children to get killed. But I did have, you know, it just very, my nephew got killed about 6 years ago, and it was a violent death, you know, a shooting, and he got killed by people that he thought was his friends. And it was very horrible, so I never really gotten over that, and every time I think about it, I get very angry because I feel like no one paid for his death. So that's why I did this.
Yeah. Thank you for telling us, and we're sorry to hear about your nephew.
Wow.
Can you tell me where you live, the name of the neighborhood, and then how long you lived there?
Well, I live in Chicago, Illinois. I live at 2106 West 69th Street, and that is West Englewood.
Okay.
And I've been there for 8 years.
Okay. And then how would you describe it to someone who doesn't know West Englewood?
Well, I would describe it as a very violent area. You know, there's a lot of shooting, a lot of fighting, a lot of homeless, and you know, and a lot of young children doing things that they shouldn't be doing because it seems like they just don't have places to go or things to do good. So they gang up with another person, and then after that they become a gang.
And what do they do? What things are they doing?
Once they become a gang, you know, they make their own gangs now. They name the gang, and then once they name the gang, you know, then there's another gang. So now they're going to go against that gang, but the reason, we never know what the reason is, but all of a sudden there's a fight or a shooting. There's most likely a shooting than a fight, because they don't fight anymore with their fists. They only use the guns. They don't use their words, they only use the guns. And when they come with the guns, it's not the person that they're intending to shoot that gets shot. There's always someone innocent, a child, a mother, a grandparent, you know, and those are the ones who's getting taken out, but not the ones who's actually going to shoot, the ones they're going to shoot. And then, to be honest with you, I don't even know why they're trying to shoot the person that they're trying to shoot. Because just because you decide that you want to be in this gang and he's in that gang, you got the right to be a part of what you want to be.
Right.
And I just feel like that they shouldn't be fighting or shooting one another just because they have a different gang that they're in.
Yeah. Do you know some of the names of the gangs that they just form on the fly? What it seems like?
I don't know the name of all these crazy gangs. They be, it just comes out the air. I really don't know the name of them, but I know the name of the old gangs. You know,
like the gangster disciples.
Yeah, right, the gangster disciple, the vice lord. You know, but now they call them renegades because now they have broke off from the vice lords and the disciples. So they actually are. They're either one, vice lords or disciples, but they have breaking off. So they branched off, so they make their own little. But they still ride up under that sign. Maybe gangsters and maybe vice lords.
Interesting. And so then, so do you feel safe? How does it make you feel, kind of all these different branches?
Yeah, and you really don't feel safe. I really don't feel safe in my neighborhood because for the simple fact, there's this block is one gang, and 2 blocks over there's another gang. So you're not a part of anything, but you're walking through these gangs, you know, and you never know when they decide to retaliate against one another, and you're walking to get to school or get to work or go take care of your business, and they decide to retaliate. You caught in the middle.
Yeah. Okay. And so you have children?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and so do they have problems with the gangs or drugs?
Well, no. Well, my son, thank God, I raised him, and he's 27. He has a job, you know, a baby, and his girlfriend. He has his own apartment, and thank God he never been involved in the gangs and the drugs, you know, in those things, even fighting or none of that things. And my daughter, she's 31, and she's never been involved in the gangs and in the teenage pregnancy and all of those things, you know. And I thank God because both of them never really wanted to do that, you know, because I kept my kids close knit. I kept them in the house. They was raised with a mother and a father in the house, and where they was living, people weren't used to that. Because when I was living on the west side of Chicago, then I came to the south side of Chicago, I raised my children actually on the south side. I started in Robert Taylor Project, and that was very devastating for me, coming in there with little kids. And first of all, I was on a high floor, and I was thinking about windows. But then once I was there for a while, the windows was no problem no more. The shooting was the problem. So now we had to run to get our kids to school, run to get in from work, you know. So those was the problems.
Yeah. Okay, and so are you taking care of any kids, like grandkids or anything like that?
Yeah, my grandbaby, he's in the house with me as well. He's 3 years old,
Okay,
and I
okay.
got a little daughter. She's 13.
Okay.
You know, so I really try to keep them into things like we can't even go to parks in the neighborhood because the gangs had took over the parks and alcoholics.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and so you can't even go to the park. You know, you most definitely can't send your kids to the park
Right, right.
because
right.
there's going to be a problem at the park.
You feel like you
Right.
can almost be guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Every
and,
day.
And they have redone these parks. These parks have been done beautiful. But you can't even sit in it
Yeah, yeah.
with your babies. You can't.
Wow, wow. And then, so then what does that do for you in terms of stress?
Well, that's very stressful to me because, like, when we go outside and stuff, and my kids, we go to the store. Like my daughter, she drives and everything, and I be very afraid for her because, you know, you driving down the street and these people got the road rage and if you say anything, because they almost hit your car, and then I be worried about my son because he's a man. You know, he's on the bus. But you know, these young men, they try to snatch people's phone and everything. And I be afraid for my little girl who's in 7th grade because she goes back and forth to school. But yet, you know, some people come in these schools and do the food and shoot them up and everything. You know, and I be afraid for my grandchild because he's in daycare.
Right,
You know, so
right.
every day it is pretty stressful just to think that, you know, your child may not make it back home. Or you may not make it back to your child. You know, who's going to take care of my children if I'm gone? How my children going to feel if I'm gone from a senseless death?
Right, right. And that's something that you think about every day?
Every day.
Yeah. And so, how do you deal with that?
Well, every day I pray. I pray and I just try to make it through. Every day I pray and I talk with my people in my neighborhood. We try to, you know, with the children, we try to, like, if you walking your child to school, you know, you can walk mine to school.
Yeah, sure.
And tomorrow I can walk the children to school. Try to do things like that. And I work with the Safe Passage, so, you know, we watch the children go back and forth to school. We watch them go past abandoned houses and the alleys and things because those are very, how can I say, there's bad areas for the kids that can get snatched in at all times, you know. And we kind of like stay out after the school is out. So that school is out, we stay out an hour afterwards to make sure there's no kids on the ground at all.
Yeah. And so have you heard of kids getting snatched in those buildings and things like that?
Well, since we've been doing the Safe Passage, no.
Yeah.
But before, oh yes, it was all the time. You always hear about a child getting hurt on the way to school. A child didn't make it home, you know. And you know, and these are children getting off the bus. Children walking home. They walk this path every day. So that means that someone has been watching them.
And,
you know, and know that no one else was watching them to make sure that they get home safe.
And when you say didn't make it home, like, do they eventually come home, or they
didn't make it home at all, missing?
Wow.
Because there was 2 girls here in Chicago. It was a long time ago. I don't remember the year, but these 2 girls have never ever been found. They went to school and came home, and you know, mother still ain't found. She still rallied, you know, every year for her children. You know, and they went home, went to school and went home, and everybody in the neighborhood knew. So how would those children end up missing? It's real easy.
Right. And then kids get hurt, like sexually assaulted.
Yeah, they get sexually assaulted. They get sexually assaulted, and then you know the kids, they like to do that gang fight, like it's more than one. Beating on one child, and they stomping that child, holding the head and everything. They could kill that child.
Okay.
And we watch to make sure that don't happen.
Yeah. Great. Great. And so, have you noticed the stress affecting you, like physically, in terms of having like headaches or stomach pains or anything like that?
Well, sometimes I do have headaches, you know, because I do know it be stress, you know, and then sometimes I get that like nervous feeling because you know the games are into it. So your window is right here, you know what I'm saying? You never know if a bullet might come through your window.
Yeah, and when you say nervous feeling, what does that feel like? Describe it.
Well, it feels like if I Like if my son go out to the store and I know the gangs are into it, I'm nervous because I don't know if my son gonna make it back. I don't know if the gangs gonna jump him because they into it and they don't know that he's not in the gang. They just assume that he with the opposite side, you know, or shoot him, you know, or just shoot through your house and things like that.
Yeah. And the
I
nervous
be
system,
really-
is it like butterflies? Is it like you get cramps in the
No,
stomach?
it's like butterflies, like
Okay.
you really nervous, like really butterflies. I just feel like something's gonna happen.
Okay. And then, so how does it affect you mentally, like to have this fear, and then you kind of, you know, your body is letting you know, right, you're kind of nervous, you're anxious. How would you say it affects you mentally?
Well, I would say it affects you mentally. Like at some point, you get depressed. You get to thinking about the situation where you live in. You get to think about that, you know, and you be like, why can't I do better? Why, you know, why can't I live somewhere better? Well, I won't have to worry about my children getting hurt.
Right. I get it. I have 2 kids too, so I get it. So let's switch gears a little bit. So tell me about your special qualities. Like,
Okay.
what can you jam at? What are you like really good at?
Well, I like to cook. I like to decorate. I do a lot of making things like baskets, making centerpieces for a table. I do sandwiches, what I sometimes cook and sell. You know.
Okay, you got a whole list.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what are 2, and we're on the last 3 questions.
Okay.
So what are 2 things that you would change about your life, if you could?
If I could, I would further my education.
And what would you like to do?
Well, I would like to be I'd like to run a center for battered and bruised women and children.
Yeah.
For battered and bruised women and children. Because I was raised up in DCFS, and I know how it is.
Yeah. Okay. And then, there's something you would change about your neighborhood. What would you change?
I would actually have the people in the neighborhood to actually come out and talk to those guys who you know did are gangbangers. Because these gangbangers in our neighborhood are our sons, our cousins, our nephews, our uncles, even our fathers. So we know these people. I feel like you know your people out here gangbanging and stuff and you know, shooting and doing things bad in the neighborhood. Why don't you get together? We can get together as a group of people who know our people, and we can go to our people. You know what I'm saying? They'll be more better to listen to me because I'm your cousin. You know, than to listen to him because he just feel like that's the way it should be.
Right.
And if I talk to you and tell you, well, cuz listen, that gang that you in, they shooting every day. Now I just seen them shoot and kill a little boy on the way to school. Now what are you gonna do about that? Is that something you want to be a part of? Yeah, and I would really talk to them, you know, have us to get together, you know, and especially women. I would have the women to come together and talk to these young men. Because I do believe that these women, because those are our children. I believe if we talk to them, bring them together, I believe we can make a change.
That's amazing. And what else do you think, right? Because part of the study is to think about what can we do together
That's
to
right,
create
together.
change.
That's
So-
right.
So any other ideas in terms of neighborhood change or things that can help the young men and the young women who
Yeah,
are
well,
involved
you
in
know,
violence?
start more community groups like, you know, for the girls and the boys, you know, teach them more about sex. You know, they think they know about sex, they really don't know about sex. They just having sex all type of way. They don't realize that AIDS is a killer. They not realizing that. They having sex, they having all these babies. So if you having all these babies by all these different men, don't you realize you're not protecting yourself? So if you're not protecting yourself, you putting yourself and that baby that's inside you at risk. You know, and I would like to have something like that, to talk to the men, the young men and the women, to let them know, you know what I'm saying, the risk that y'all taking. And then you out here having babies, you ain't got a job, you ain't even got a 12th grade education. You know, most of them got 8th grade and they done dropped on out. They feel like that's as far as they can go. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like if you could talk to them and encourage them, they know they can do better and they can go farther in the world.
Great. You have been wonderful.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Well, I just like to add that my nephew Eric, he was killed
Oh, I'm sorry.
violently,
I'm sorry to hear that.
and the person who killed him or whatever, they never really solved his murder. You know, it was like they just told a story like, well, he got shot on an accident, and so the person who did said that he went to jail for like 2 years. But my nephew, he's dead, you know, and no one really never knew what happened to him.
Wow, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's real heartbreaking, and that was my favorite nephew. And
Wow, how old was he?
well,
Wow, I'm very sorry. Very sorry to hear that. Well, thank you. Thank you. So, and again, hopefully the study will be a support as well,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, love. And we're praying for you and everything. So.
Okay.
So I just have a couple questions I'm going to ask you about the neighborhood and everything, simple as what we've been talking about basically. So where do you stay now? What neighborhood do you stay in?
I stay in Ashburn.
Ashburn, okay. How long have you stayed in that neighborhood?
About 2 years.
2 years? Okay. If you had to describe your neighborhood to someone who doesn't know it, what would you say?
It's a pretty okay neighborhood. Not that much violence, but I do hear gunshots.
You hear it? Okay. Okay. So do you feel safe in the neighborhood?
Yeah, to a point, yeah.
Okay. Why do you say to a point? What's the aspect of it?
I guess it all depends on like the time of day, I should say, or even with the summer. The summer months brings out a lot of activity.
Right. Understandable. I stay in Auburn Gresham, so I definitely. So do you have any problems with the children in the area or your specific children with drugs or violence specifically?
No.
No. Okay. That's a blessing. That's a strong blessing. What types of stress do you experience within your life?
Probably working.
Working?
Work related.
Just that? Just work?
And then just wanting to keep my kids safe. They really can't go out and play as much as they used to when I was growing up.
Right.
Things
Because of everything going on?
Yeah.
So there is a sense of violence within the community.
Yeah.
Has there been anything recently, like a story that you can kind of think of, just something within the neighborhood specifically that makes you feel not the safest?
Well, what kind of triggered the most recent thing that happened maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, someone got shot on the side of our neighborhood store, and we frequent that store a lot, and it so happened that I got caught up into something else which kind of stagnated my time, so if I would have been on time, I probably would have ran to the store.
Yeah, Jesus. That's a blessing though. See, like, I'm glad everything was okay, for real. I understand how you feel. How does the stress that you live with every day affect you physically, if at all? Such as like headaches, stomach pains, any trouble sleeping?
It don't really get to me that bad.
Okay.
I think about it, but it's not
right.
physically changed.
Good. So it doesn't affect you mentally either. Stress doesn't affect you mentally. What type of like coping skills do you use? Like prayer, church?
I pray a lot. Go to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
So I come from a praying family.
So family keeps you strong. Okay, good, good. So what are your special qualities? Yeah, special qualities. What are you good at?
I'm good at being a good friend. Good at giving good advice. Somebody
Good.
you kind of count on. I'm dependable.
Okay. Good qualities to have. Now we know. So if anything, what are two things that you would change about your life?
If I had to change anything, nothing that I can change. It's just the environment that I live in. And now that I have kids of my own, it kind of puts me in a place where I'm always trying to make sure they're in the right place at the
Right.
right time.
Exactly. That's stressful. That could be stressful. Okay, so that's basically the same question. Is there anything that you would change about your neighborhood? And if so, what would you specifically?
The neighborhood is pretty okay. It's not really the neighborhood, it's the surrounding block.
Right. Okay.
My neighborhood is okay.
Okay.
Even though I hear shooting, but it's maybe from maybe 2 or 3 blocks over that I can hear it from.
I'm blessed the same way, you know, with my neighborhood. I can hear it, but it's not specifically in front. So, but thank you so much for sharing all your experiences. I know like they weren't the easiest to just come out and just share with us. Is there anything else pertaining to the whole violence within the community that you'd like to add to?
Adding to not really, none other than the fact that the gun violence did kind of hit my family, well, my boyfriend's family kind of hard last year. He lost his brother
I'm sorry
in
to hear
September
that.
of last year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So that's the only thing that kind of, reminds us that life really isn't promised. And
Yeah, it really
try to
is.
make the best of it.
Just have a couple questions to ask about the neighborhood that you live in. So where do you stay specifically?
630 normal.
630 normal? Okay. So if you had to describe that neighborhood to somebody that doesn't know what 63rd normal, what it's like, the environment, how would you go ahead and do that?
It's not.
You're gonna have the
I wouldn't
GPS. This is the most
say it's a good place
complicated
to
one.
raise your kids. What?
Yep.
You want me to come over there with you? I just drive ass.
Right, that's an infamous block.
Yeah.
And don't they call it Lamron as opposed to normal? And I know you roll your eyes at that. Yeah, I do too. I definitely do too. So there is a strong gang presence, just violence, not even as a lot.
You can't even take your kids to the park.
Exactly. So it's safe to say that you don't feel safe, or do you?
It's like, well, I'm staying at like it's quiet, but the next block is where it's all at.
Right.
They do the drive ass down. They come down my block to go to the next block.
Exactly.
So it's like where I'm at is empty and it's quiet, but the next block is where all the chaos is.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like the next block over. Okay. Do you have any children?
One child.
One child. So do you have any children with issues with violence or drugs? No, thank God. Okay. What type of stresses do you experience in your life?
Can you repeat the question?
What type of stress do you experience in your life pertaining to the environment?
It's like you gotta be careful, like where I gotta look every minute. I gotta walk through the neighborhood now because my car is messed up. So it's like you're looking over your shoulder, this car slowing down. People in the cars want to ask you where you from. So it's like you gotta keep walking in. So it's kind of stressful, but I really don't be outside.
Right,
I
right.
just go to work, go home. That's about it.
Okay, so that's the thing, just stay in the house. So I was about to ask you, how do you deal with the stresses and the anxiety of the environment?
I just live like this. I really don't know how to deal with it. It's just something that I gotta get immune to until I can move out of the
Right.
neighborhood. I be nervous leaving out for work, but I gotta get to work.
Right. So I guess your coping skills are just to go throughout the day and just. Okay. How does the stress affect you physically?
Lack of sleep. I'm always tired. I don't sleep through the night. It would be a lot of commotion too. Like they just sit out, especially during the summer. Like I'm in the alley, so I'm literally off the next time. So they just sit out with their music playing, doing whatever they're doing all night, shooting videos. Sometimes they just want to shoot in the air just for the fun.
Does it affect you mentally? Yeah, but like you said, you're strong with the coping skills, so you just push through it. Well, I know we talked about a bunch of things that are stressful, but what are your special qualities? Like, what do you wake up inspired to do every day? What are you working towards?
Every day I work for my son, so it's like I gotta go get it.
Where do you stay within the Englewood area?
I stay like in the cross street.
Just
73rd and Marshall.
73rd and Marshfield? Okay. If you had to describe the neighborhood to somebody that doesn't know it, what would you say? How would you describe it?
I would say it's right off the main street. The block is pretty quiet, but as far since it's right off Ashland, just don't go that way.
Right.
Or something like
that. Understandable. So, do you feel safe in this neighborhood?
I feel safe during certain times, but it's also like currently, like recently, there hasn't been anything. But as far as the past, before they were here, I would hear stories like where we catch a bus to their school.
Right. Okay. So, what type of stories would you hear?
So his school's on 69th and Hermitage. It would be somebody just ran on the bus and shot up the bus. Somebody jumped on somebody on 69th and Ashland. Like, so his school's on 63rd and Blina. So like, once we're done get him from school, that's the bus we take. So that's why it's just like...
Right. Exactly.
Hopefully today is okay, or hopefully they don't pick a time where they're in school.
Right.
Pick up school time.
Right. So, how many children do you have?
I have 3.
3? Okay. What are their ages?
7, 5, and 1.
Okay.
22 bucks.
That's a blessing. I see them running around. So, none of your children have issues with violence or drug abuse?
Nothing as far as drug abuse. They are very friendly, which is probably a problem with these strangers. But Elijah, he likes to play with guns or pretend everything is a gun. And Donovan, he's more of a hitter, and he's the youngest.
Okay. What type?
Ari, she keeps everything clean, so I won't really know until probably like a week or 2 later.
Exactly. Okay. What type of stresses are you experiencing in your life?
Their school schedule, I guess. Like, that would be a stressor. Finding a job, like currently I'm not working, so I guess it would be finding a job that works with our
flexible
together.
schedules. And then something that's close, definitely. Okay. How do you deal with any of the stresses that you named or didn't name? Like, what are your go-to coping mechanisms? Sleep? Yeah, as everybody.
Talking to my friends. Sleep.
Yeah.
But usually it's still not sleep because I have to wait until bedtime. but that's about it. Or like I probably won't address it until it's like right there.
Exactly. Understandable. Does the stress affect you physically, like headaches, stomach aches?
No
Other than
headaches,
sleeping.
but sometimes I guess I would say I forget to.
Which one is
I'll probably be like, oh, I didn't eat yesterday. Now it's like, let me eat something.
Yeah. Does the stress affect you mentally?
No.
Good. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. We talk about negative aspects of the neighborhood, but what are your special qualities
As a person.
as a person?
I'm very creative. My patience has grown since being a mother. I'm a good teacher.
Try turning your phone on and off. Sorry, try turning your screen on and off.
I don't know, like explaining it around them.
Which is
So
good.
creativity is like a big thing. Not drawing wise, but like painting or putting stuff together,
That's awesome.
making things, sewing, stuff like that. But my friends, what they'll say is I'm very dependable. I say this because I don't see it in myself. So they say I'm dependable, I'm a great friend, and I'm reliable, and I'm supportive.
That's great.
And non-judgmental.
That's a great friend. Attributes of a great friend. So what are two important things that you would change about your environment if you could?
I would change the cleanliness and the, I guess, programs. Because like where it is, like I know I heard my sister say, like you don't, like can't really go to the park. But it's like even if we did want to go to the park, there is a park by us, probably a half a mile away. So like usually we're used to it being one block away.
Right. Something closer.
But there's a backyard, so, but they like swings and stuff.
Right. Okay. Well, those are all the questions I have. Thank you so much for answering, coming out and help us. So thank you so much. And that's basically it.
So I really think that a lot of the violence is due to the people who are paid or who are put in positions to make the streets better or safer. They're not made accountable for what they're supposed to be representing. I think that, I'm not an artist, but this is supposed to be a bullet that looks like a candle. I believe that even if you get the guns and paraphernalia for the guns, like the bullets and stuff, if you had like a dozen of bullets and the bullets were between $500 and $1,000, I think you would think about who you maybe wanted to shoot, or was it that serious? If you're paying yourself out of your pocket, out of some money that you earned doing something legally, I don't think that there would be that many shootings. And then I have family up here, and this is my family before I was married. And I think about that when I was raised, my mother brought me up in a home and brought me things, not the best things, but decent and clean things. And she taught me about prayer and going to church. And I do believe a lot of people don't have that instilled in them, because if you do, it would be a much less violent world. And then I put prayer in the Bible because I try to instill in my kids what my mother instilled in me about knowing about God and knowing about prayer, because prayer does change things. And a person who's in a prayerful family or know about prayer, it will change their minds on decisions that could be life-threatening or whatever. And then I put leadership and law. Leaders or people who are put in positions of leadership, they should be made accountable for like the laws, not making a law, but making you stick to that law. Or your punishment would be not so severe, but severe enough that you wouldn't want to go down that road again. Don't just don't say you're making extra lottery for money for school, and then when school starts every September, the teachers are fighting for a contract. Something is wrong with that picture. I just think if people were made accountable for the things that they're responsible for or over, then the world would be a much better place because it's too much lollygagging. If we were like in the times of King where you protested for people who are actually making a living off of you and you know your worth, then the world will be a much better place. And I got the praying hands because I'm a believer of prayer.
Great. I love the praying hands.
I did too.
Yeah, and so you'll be a big part with the policymaker part as we try to think about that. Okay, great, great.
She had answered a lot of the questions that you and I was talking about. If they stick to what they say that they should.
Right.
But anyway, I don't know how to draw, but I did the best that I could. First, I started off with, I can pass around when I get done, but first I started off with the sun, who is the universal God. He created. So, in there, everybody is always happy until you get into your day. At the top is violence. Funerals. This is the mother, this is the kids. Their son got killed in this casket right here. Here's the hospital where you see all the people that's always got to be rushed to. And here's the jails. Okay, this is the negative side of this universe. Then we go down to the side and we try to create a positive, which is down here. How can we survive the cruel world up here? By trying to create better lawns, flowers, better communities, better schools, and what have you. So, my little sunshine has got in it prayers. It's got churches, her prayer hands, just make a world much happier. Now, on the flip side, right quick, I'm a talker and I really don't like that. This is what I created at home. Well, my son drew the picture, and I'm a mentor at schools. We had a program for teen violence because the teenagers always was carrying guns on their hips and everything, and they thought this was cool. We did not. I left the whole package in here for them to go over and look and stuff. But this picture modifies, this is the sin. The skull is the sin of the universe, which is the evil. The guns, they don't know why they shoot. They just shoot, just to be shooting. Because when you kill them, hey, what'd you kill them for? You really don't know why you gun these people down. Drugs, what have you, trying to power and stuff. It's foolish. That's where we created our name, Foolish Violence. See, we use the teens because I work with younger people. The guns, these young people walking around guns in their pocket, on their waist, you name it, that's all you see. The mothers, their sadness, the roses and things around this evilness. How do we get over it? So,
The clock. It has things like, what was my day? You're thinking about the kids, you're thinking about your fears and your family and surviving. You're praying throughout the day. The job may bring you blues, or the violence may bring you blues. And then you're also thinking about life and death because you really don't know. That's why you have to stop and go. You don't know when your time is it's going to come. So this is what my life kind of entails, with having a lot of things racing through my mind about, okay, am I going to have enough time with my kids? Will my kids have enough time with their kids? And you think you have enough time, but you really don't, because I too, my boyfriend's brother was killed last year in September, and they still haven't found out who killed him. And to actually have to deal with that firsthand, it's tough. It's very tough, because when he died, for maybe like 2 weeks straight, we weren't eating, we couldn't think. It was, I didn't even know I was at work at some points in time, because things was going past my head so fast. But this clock really kind of shows what it is.
One more time.
You don't have time, even though we think we do, because we're young, or sometimes even the younger kids think they have more time, like my kids. But I tell them, you can go outside today and be gone tomorrow. It don't matter how old you are.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. And you're right in terms of the importance.
I got two pictures. The first one is a child wants to go to a park that's in her. I stay in a very high crime rate neighborhood. It's known as Lamron. No one wants to go back with Lamron. It's a lot of stuff going on over there, and it's a park like right by a church, but it's a dangerous park. Like people have been killed there. So that's what this picture represents. The child want to go to a park, but she can't because it's dangerous. Anything could happen right there. And then this one is the person, me, in the morning getting ready, leaving out for work, walking to the bus stop. It still be dark, so I be kind of nervous. But only thing that's on my mind is get to the money because I got to provide for my son. So that's what it is.
Yeah. So 2 great pictures. I remember when you said they built this beautiful, and we talked about it in our class. I teach urban communities and public policy, how they built this beautiful park, but people don't feel safe getting there.
It's a nice park.
Yeah.
It's better than the other park that's like a couple of blocks down, but the crime rate right there, that's what somebody really got shot right next to the park a couple of days ago, and they questioned me about it coming home from work. I'm like, I wasn't even here. I'm just getting off work. I didn't even know it was a shooting until I walked up.
Wow. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And your sister?
Evelyn.
Why you want you back to us, Evelyn?
It's okay.
Just going to give you a brief overview of the technology that you're going to use, how we're going to use it, what is it, and how we expect you to play around with it. So, quick overview of the technology you're going to use. You're going to use between 2 and 3 apps, depending on which group you're in. You're going to use something called GPS Logger for Android, which is our location tracking software, which is going to tell us where you are in Chicago. Some of you are going to use the Fitbit Charge 2, which is a wearable sensor that you wear on your wrist. One of you will get to wear our E4 unit. Unfortunately, we only have 1 unit to deploy for that. And we also have a diary app called Journey, which will help, allow you to document your experience through the project. So, just a quick overview, GPS Logger for Android. This is an app that once installed and configured will track your physical location using GPS satellites and the cellular network. Our fitness tracker, or is it, does anyone have Fitbits? No?
I used to have one.
That's great, no one has one, we don't have to sort any more issues with that. So, the Fitbit thing, this is the standard fitness tracker. What it measures is your heartbeat rate, and it measures your activity through the number of steps that you take. So every time you walk, it tracks a step. And what that device does is it pairs to your smartphone where you can view this data and upload it to a server where we can have a look. This device is the E4. This is what we call more of a biometric sensor. This one is a more advanced version of your Fitbit. This can actually measure your actual blood, moving around your fingers, called blood volume pulse, which we can use to measure your heart rate. We can also measure something called skin conductance. Now what this is these 2 little sensor electrodes here. They are on the wrist, and when your nervous system, or when you're spooked, we will pick that up. So if you, for example, a gunshot was fired, or a loud sound, or even if someone, pricked you with a pin, your nervous system would activate and we would pick it up incredibly fast with this device, this signal. It also measures skin temperature and motion. Your Journey app, again, it's a smartphone app. This will allow you to document your daily life experiences and any time-sensitive events. So if you do encounter a gunshot, we would like you to document the time that occurs through this app and say, obviously if there is particular danger, get to somewhere safe, but we would like you to at least document the time so we can look at it later and figure out your stress reactions afterwards. Obviously, don't stay anywhere near where you feel threatened. So, how will the data be used? So we're collecting this data, the heart rate data and the location data to try, and obviously the journey data, to trying to contextualize your physiological responses, and from that trying to determine your level of stress.
Yes.
As you may have, for example, giving a public talk is very stressful. And if you saw the sensors on me, as my phone actually just notified me, it's telling me I'm stressed because I'm actually wearing a sensor that's measuring my breathing rate, and it says I am very tense. Obviously for me it's kind of useless because I already know I'm tense because I'm giving a public talk. But these are the type of things that we want to capture, and the more information you have about how your physiology changes, such as where you are you sat down, are you stood up, are you at work, at your home, allows us to figure out, is this something to do with that stressing you out, more emotional, or is this something to do with physical activity? Because as you walk around, your heart rate increases.
Yes.
But if you get stressed because you're in an exam or someone is upsetting you, your heart rate will also increase, but I can't tell the difference unless I use something such as a motion tracker to tell, am I standing up or sitting down? And that's why it's important we have all these different apps working to give us more context, and the documentation that you will provide us to give us a clearer idea about what's going on. The other thing that we want to do with this data is create novel interfaces to express your lived experience as developed by us. So we're going to develop some interfaces. Artists are going to develop interfaces based on data, but we would also like you to create the interfaces yourself. And this gets into some of my later work. How do you actually express this information? So I did a project many, many years ago, 2012, where I was wearing heart monitors before the days of Fitbit. And I was interested, if everyone had this technology, what would they do with this? How would they express this information? And one of the projects I ran was for 24 hours, 7 days a week, for an entire year. I wore a heart monitor, and I streamed it up into the internet to see how people would interact with this data. So Twitter, it was updated with my heart rate, so people know when I was asleep, through my heart rate. We also had the standard thing that you would see more medical professionals and XY graph. And my website would change colour. So if I was asleep, my website would turn blue. Because that helped people understand the data that they were receiving from my heart monitor. If I was stressed or I was out running, my website would turn red. And a lot of people started drawing conclusions and tried to interact with me differently through the interface I created to help people interpret it. For example, my boss thought that I was really stressful because late at night my heart rate was showing the red state, indicating it was a high heart rate. So he thought I was working really hard on a project that we knew we were trying to meet the deadline of. So all these interesting things you can interact with. And because I collected so much data, I started working on new ways of interpreting that through the interface. So this is a heat map which shows, for every square, it represents an hour of time, and it represents the average of the heart rate. And this is days going back in a month, and this is me asleep. So blue is associated with my sleep states, yellow is more associated with the run that I do in the evening. And it allows me to pick out any strange behaviors, such as Christmas. Christmas is an incredibly stressful time. You're meeting family who you may or not want to meet, and you've got to eat a lot of food, all your patterns have changed. And this is something that comes across in the data that I collected. It's November, whereas I've got a very, very easy to read and very stable pattern of activity. But when it comes to December, all this blue activity that indicates sleep has disappeared. I'm still asleep. But my heart has started to change because of all the stress it's been putting on me, and it's starting to come through the visual interface. So I can say, during December, something has gone wrong with my sleep pattern, and I can put that through the data. And that's what it means to, this data helped me understand this interface helped me understand the data I was collecting. And we're interested in, later on through work, running serious workshops about how would the data we're collecting help you, understand this data? How would it help you express your experiences to other people?
Can I ask a question? Can you go back to? And so, how would you say that you all pretty much sleep well at night?
No.
Okay.
No.
I wake up in the middle of the night, but it's more like a little rollover and then go back to sleep type of thing.
Okay. And why would you say that you don't sleep? What's going on?
I get up.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, and where I live at, my bedroom is the back of an alley that shows Sangamon Street, and there's a lot of activity on that street.
Oh, okay. Well, she just told you where it happened.
Okay. So you're on the same street or a different street?
No, just 103rd, the main street public.
On 63rd.
I mean, it's like you can hear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Okay.
It is going. And once I get up, it's hard to go back.
Okay. Sirens all night.
All night long.
It's hard to go back.
All night long, running back and forth.
Me, I got like a sleeping summer. So I could have been undid a whole lot of stuff during the day, and then when I lay down, it's like I can't relax. So I either watch a movie or TV or something, and then just before my alarm go off, then I fall asleep.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, you said that too. Just before your alarm goes off, you fall asleep. Was your hand up? Or you gonna say?
That was similar. I have to stay up, because I'm just not sleeping. I try to do stuff that in the day to make me sleepy, so I can be tired like when I was younger. But I do think that it has something to do with just my age too. I just don't, it's reverse for me now. Daytime I can't be sleepy, but at night I be woke.
Okay. So we're gonna together as a group try to figure out how to represent this difficulty sleeping, but then also to think about art or how you would try to convey that to someone who can't really get a gist of what it means to have the police department, people in the alley, and all kind of stuff going on in the middle of the night, early in the morning, right? Okay, I just wanted to, and so we now also can kind of have a sense of what.
Yeah. Another, final example I just want to give is another project I was working on, which came in later, which was looking at the experience of two groups of workers. We were interested in the experiences and comparing and contrasting the experience of different work environments. So in this case, we had a group of hairdressers who obviously most of the time standing on their feet, talking to the client, moving around a lot. And a bunch of game testers at Sony, and they're sat down most of the time. They're playing games constantly over and over again while they're debugging this thing. But they're also on shift work, so they may have to wake up crack of dawn, or come in late at night to play a system. And we're interested in building in that part. We're interested in building an art installation, which we ended up doing. So this is one of the art installations that we built based on that data. And what this particular format of the data, we collected heart rate from everybody, from these two, work environments. And we had essentially compared the two of them through this display. Oops. So what these are representations of heart rate. They span around at the speed of each other's heart rate. And the idea was to look at the people on the left from one group, the hairdressers, to the people on the right, the game testers, and watch how these, the heart rates spin in different sequences. So the heart rate of, for the game testers may be lower because, they're sat down all the time, or they may have more emotional stress, but you would also have, a lot of activity for the hairdressers. And that's what we're also interested in building with you, in collaboration.
Right, and so again, when even now, you can start thinking about ways that you can represent your lived experience. And this is one example, right? The world, for the most part, we have some limitations, but whatever you can think about, do that, because we really want to represent this experience, and especially from the Black female perspective, right? And so don't be shy as you're kind of experiencing things like, man, how would I represent it? So that's kind of one way. Sculptures, painting. I mean, again, think about anything.
Prayers.
Prayers. Ooh, okay, yeah. So how would you think about prayers? Like our installation of prayers.
And I do have a couple of them. Mr. Walker, how God favors me, and I think about that song, and here it is from. The words of the song is so meaningful, and it happens today how people mistreat each other and don't care. And I can sing the whole song. I get right.
Okay.
I'm just saying how He favors you in spite of your ways, but other people don't look at you like that. And that's what bring me through some of these. Because I'm gonna be honest, I was the one on the news. Y'all probably seen my face when the police beat my son and killed my grandchild. My grandchild, my daughter-in-law was having a baby 3 years ago on Labor Day. Police thought he was somebody that robbed the bank. How could he rob the bank on 35th and get here at 103rd and Bensley in 5 minutes? So they jumped out the car. I mean, it hit every news channel. Even in New York, my cousin was calling me, "Cuz, you on the news." I said, "I know, but how you got it all the way down there in New York?" But they was wrong, and people was out there with their video, like they say Facebook and then all that. and they was wrong. And I even got the videos in my phone. I keep them. Because he won his case, but the point of it was I lost a grandchild in the process. Because he claimed these was the people that just robbed the bank on 35th, Bronzeville area. How they get from 35th to 103rd and Yates in 5 minutes? And then he fit the description. Beat his wife, and she was just bleeding, and wasn't nothing we could do. He had everybody. The police, when I say I had the whole 4th district plus some of the 111 at my house that day. I got the video I can show you. I put it on there. You'll be like, wow. Everybody. So
really sorry, right? That's.
But you know what? I don't worry about it because in spite of what they did, maybe it was the reason why she didn't have that baby. But my son still live. I live. His wife is living. You know, in spite of what they've been through, they still managed to keep on going. And he's a Chicago police officer. Police beat up the police.
So also we have journals, so like even stories like that, which I think are great. Like if you want to put them in the journal, we'll talk about them. I'm not gonna say
I ain't
anything
got no
else,
problem
Carl.
with it.
We'll put them.
I got it right here. Picture, story, everything. Okay. I kept that baby.
Okay.
Last slide. So what next? When it comes to the technical aspect, we're going to give you each your own unique, Google account, Fitbit account with your own password. Please keep, as Gandalf says, keep it safe, keep it secret to yourself. You will just collect a bag, sensor and information packet which will detail how to set up the device and how to use it in the field. We'll ask you to complete the setup instructions today, and get you all with the Fitbits running before you leave. We will also check that everything is set up before you go. Please bear with the manual. There is a lot of technical material to go through. If you follow the instruction, it is relatively straightforward. There's just unfortunately a lot of it because we are using so many apps. But we will check before you go that everything is working fine. And if anything goes wrong in the field, please get in touch and we will try to support you and get it sorted or send somebody out to help. Okay, and that'll be it.